Bob, your next question will be for Dr. Johnson.
Dr. Jones, seniors have been crossing the border into Canada for quite some time now to get cheaper prescription drugs. Our Food and Drug Administration has not been very forthcoming or very cooperative, if you will, in terms of cheaper herbal types of drug solutions that are non-chemical type drug solutions. What do you propose being done? What would you fight for in terms of better medical type prescription things for the American people?
H.R. 2, one of the 4 bills I'm going to submit the first day in Congress, is going to allow, finally, Medicare to negotiate drug prices with the drug companies. No more of this sham about going across to Canada, the smoke and mirrors about going across to Canada to get prices, to get drugs at lower prices. It's about time that our government is allowed to negotiate drug prices with Medicare. The VA already does it, and those of you in the VA already know that you get your drugs at 1/2 to 1/4 of the cost. It's about time the major payer, Medicare, gets to do the same thing. And I will guarantee you they will plummet and they will reach the levels that Canada has now. That's what I propose to do for it.
As a doctor, do you feel that the Food and Drug Administration is too tight in terms of looking at other supplements and so on? They've actually almost refused anything other than drug companies that produce chemical drugs and so on, rather than herbal supplements and so on, that some people claim are very better, maybe even better than what we use for drugs.
The FDA is charged with protecting the American public with regard to the safety of drugs, and any of those herbal supplements that are proposed before the FDA needs to prove their efficacy, their ability to cure disease. Right now, you know, it's by gosh and by golly, but you know, there's a role for the FDA. In fact, the FDA has a section of alternative medicines for that. But we have to make sure that the drugs and supplements that we are prescribing or are using are indeed safe and efficacious.
Congressman?
Well, I would note, first of all, in spite of the fact the doctor said I'm in the hip pocket, his words, of the drug companies, that I haven't received a drug company contribution over 2 years, and in fact, I was one of the lead sponsors of the bill that now makes it legal for all Americans to bring back lower-priced drugs from Canada. I want to do the best things for seniors, get them the lower prices. Doctor's plan would actually increase prices. The fact of the matter is, since Medicare has introduced competition into it, from last year to this year, the 25 top drugs for seniors have reduced in cost by 35% for retail and 45% for mail order. The plan is working. If it wasn't, I'd vote to change it in a minute. He doesn't like to admit that, but that's the reality.
Do I get to
Carolyn?
do I get to rebut that? I'm sorry, John.
No.
I'm in the front
I don't
lines
think
all
you
the
do.
time. I'm on the front lines
Bob,
all the
Dr.
time.
Johnson?
And that's not true.
Yeah, it is true, doctor.
My
and I
patients
can
can't afford their drugs.
I didn't say they could. I said the
Gentlemen?
doctors.
Gentlemen,
I
here's
said,
what...
doctor, the pharmaceutical prices have reduced.
Carolyn.
Unlike what you
Interesting,
said.
it always comes to
Yes.
me one of my questions. Congressman McHugh,
Yes.
I would like you to finish your remarks on the Welfare to Work Act.
Well, simply, we had a package of tax credits and tax breaks that my friends on the other side of the aisle are trying to portray as a giveaway to the rich. Amongst those tax breaks that apparently, according to Charlie Rangel, who, if the Democrats take over, will be the head of the Ways and Means Committee that writes new tax policy, we will do away with the child tax credit, $500 tax credit for every low and middle income American who has a child. We will do away with the equalization and the diminished effect of the marriage penalty tax. We will do away with the welfare to tax credit that encourages businesses to hire folks who are trying to struggle off welfare. And the statistics show very clearly that if the Democrats have their way, a family of 4 earning $50,000 will see their tax burden raised by 135%. Doctor likes to deny that. It's facts. And you can look it up, as Yogi Berra used to say.
And a follow-up, Carol? Okay, Dr. Johnson?
I don't believe that Charles Rangel is going to vote against the core of his district. And I don't at all accept that. I just don't. I think that's the politics of fear rather than the solutions of hope. What the important thing that people need to understand about tax policy is, what do you have in your pocket at the end of the day? Some taxes rise, some taxes go down. But what do you have in your pocket at the end of the day? If you have to pay $700, $800, $900 for health insurance every month, you don't have much left.
Okay, Shane, your question will be for Dr. Johnson.
All right, Dr. Johnson,
Now
What,
that it's getting testy.
what must America's role be in the growing tensions in North Korea and Iran?
My first day of officer training, they told us that military action is a failure of diplomacy. But you have to have diplomacy first. And diplomacy means not only talking to your friends, diplomacy means talking to your enemies. We've got to actually talk to those people that hate us. It's kind of like the golden rule, okay? Love thy neighbor. It's easy to love thy neighbor who's a nice guy, but it's tough for the drunkard to cross the street. We have to talk to those people who want to hurt us, and we need to negotiate with them. I think Kennedy said it best: we must never negotiate out of fear, but we must never fear to negotiate. And it's about time we start using diplomacy. This administration has not used diplomacy. This administration has made us into the world's bully rather than the world's leader.
As a follow-up, are there any lessons we can learn from Iraq in handling the North Korean and Iran situation?
Iraq was never a threat to us. You know, Iraq was never a threat to us. And we hear today on NPR that Dick Cheney is going over maps of the Iraqi oil fields 2 years prior to the invasion. You know, Iraq was not our enemy. Iraq had a terrible tyrant, and we've given Iraq an incredible gift. But it's time to leave Iraq to the Iraqis.
Okay, and a rebuttal, Congressman?
Well, I would just say the fact of the matter is we have been talking to North Koreans. As the Clinton administration did, we saw how well that worked. We're also trying to engage the Iranians. It's hard to engage people who are unwilling to talk, but I think clearly we need to try to press that issue. At the end of the day, sanctions are the way that are available to us, and we have to continue to ensure that is absolutely the path that we have available to us. This is a very, very difficult time. Iraq is a difficult situation. I think 300,000 mass graves, 100,000 people dead in Iraq by chemical attacks, and attack on Kuwait, and 17 UN resolutions saying you ought to get your act in order would suggest Saddam was kind of a threat.
Thank you.
Of a threat.
Okay.